All right, so real quick, Pauli Malignaggi is besmirching the good name of the undisputed lightweight champion of the world, Devin "The Dream" Haney. And those numbers came back from that all-women's fight card out there in the UK headlined by Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. Let's chop it up.
Hey, hear him. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, family? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst back at you with that uncut realness, because that's the only way I'm ever going to deliver it to you. And we got some controversy hitting the Twitterverse, the boxing social media comment section world. It's the rumor mill. It's kind of a slow week, so we're going to talk about the rumor mills and the he said, she said. But Pauli Malignaggi, color commentator, former two-division boxing champion, world-renowned for his pillow fists, but he was a two-division boxing champion, tough Italian guy from Brooklyn. Now he's a color commentator for boxing on Pro Box TV. He used to have a bigger stint on, I want to say it was Showtime or was it ESPN? One of those. Got booted off. Pauli Malignaggi, for those of you that don't know, is widely considered one of the best boxing commentators in the game as far as his analysis and his ability to break down the sport, but he does have a tendency to feel very entitled to say things he shouldn't say. A lot of times he'll try to speak about social matters and end up sticking his foot in his mouth, and he's been booted off of certain networks. But we're not here to talk about Pauli Malignaggi's past transgressions. We're going to talk about his current transgressions. Now, Pauli Malignaggi was on Pro Box TV and recently had some interesting comments to make about Devin "The Dream" Haney. And amongst them, let me see if I can get some of the more paraphrased notes that I wrote, is that he doesn't think Devin Haney is going to fight Lomachenko. He's going to say that he pretty much said that Devin Haney avoided Lomachenko even earlier when he was before he became a champion, when he was still the WBC interim, looking to get the mandatory shot. But Devin "The Dream" Haney was pretty upset. Anyways, the long and the short of it is, Pauli Malignaggi believes that the original game plan was for Devin Haney for the 3-fight deal, right? He said that Devin Haney was supposed to fight George Kambosos Jr. in those 2 fights, and the third fight was supposed to be with Vasily Lomachenko, with the intent of Vasily Lomachenko defeating Devin "The Dream" Haney, regaining the undisputed straps back, possibly defending it 1 or 2 more times, and then having a fight with Shakur Stevenson, where Shakur Stevenson will have a more further aged out Vasily Lomachenko. Oh, there goes a motorcycle, because Vasily Lomachenko is, 34 years old, 35 years old? Either way, Vasily Lomachenko is getting old. But this is what Pauli Malignaggi was saying. Pauli Malignaggi was saying that the game plan on behalf of the top rank executives was to have Devin "The Dream" Haney fight Vasily Lomachenko, and they're under the strong assumption he would lose, or something to that effect, at which point Vasily Lomachenko would end up fighting Shakur Stevenson, and that was when the torch would be passed, the proverbial torch. And Shakur Stevenson would become the new undisputed lightweight champion, and he would become the star on which they build their promotional platform on over their Top Rank with their network deal in ESPN. And Pauli Malignaggi says that before Devin Haney ever steps in a ring with Vasily Lomachenko as a 135-pound undisputed champion, he's going to vacate the belts and move up to 140. Now, I think that, as odd as it sounds, I think the stuff about Top Rank's plan to have Lomachenko without a doubt beat Devin Haney or something to that effect and fight Shakur, that might be a bit of a stretch. I can say this. When I saw the weigh-in for that last fight with George Kambosos Jr., all of us noticed it. Devin Haney was kind of struggling to get down to that weight. He looked very gaunt, very sucked up. Didn't really matter. He washed George Kambosos Jr., whooped his ass even worse than the first time. That's really undebatable. Now, can Devin Haney cut down to 135? He did it once. He can do it again. I think, given a better nutritionist and a better food planner, he shouldn't have any problem cutting down to that weight. It's going to take really close management of his food intake, but he can easily still make that 135-pound weight. And then, of course, the Devin Haney fanboys exploded on social media, including Devin "The Dream" Haney. Devin "The Dream" Haney's words to Pauli Malignaggi. Let's see if I can find those words. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, Devin Haney responded to Pauli Malignaggi's words and said this: "I'm everything Pauli wish he was. He been hating on me since the beginning. I'm not ducking or dodging nobody. I've been wanting to fight Loma since I was his mandatory. Now Paulina got my dick. Now Paulina, get my dick out your mouth. Strong words. You know, Devin Haney is a very polite dude. He tries to stay well spoken. So for him to, wild out like that, you don't see that too often with Devin Haney. He feels very offended by what, Pauli Malignaggi had to say about the young man. And then you got to go back to the interviews with Mauricio Sulaiman, the WBC president, and Bill Haney out there with Barbershop Fred, in addition to the other moments where Mauricio Sulaiman was confronted about this whole franchise belt debacle. The key in Devin Haney's statement was where he said, I've been wanting to fight Lomachenko since I was his mandatory. Now, Mauricio Sulaiman has gone on record saying that Devin Haney was never the mandatory, because they ended up making Lomachenko the franchise, and there is no mandatory clause or mandatory enforcement when you are the franchise champion. It's a mess. Mauricio Sulaiman was never really quite able to correctly explain the franchise belt phenomenon in any of the videos that I watched and researched to where I could make a definitive explanation as far as what happened with the Canelo franchise belt situation or the Teofimo Lopez WBC Lomachenko undisputed franchise belt situation. That was such a weird, confusing mess when it happened. Either way, the long or the short of it is, as far as I can best understand it, Devin Haney was never the mandatory. And there was even an interview with Barbershop Fred where Mauricio Sulaiman and Bill Haney were both there. And they even came to the agreement. Mauricio Sulaiman even sat there with Bill on the screen and said, you were never the mandatory. Stop saying you were the mandatory. It's a mess. Anyways, Pauli Malignaggi, is he hating? Is Devin the Dream Haney not trying to fight Lomachenko? Personally, I think Devin Haney is down to fight anybody. I have seen nothing less than full boxer credentials to Devin the Dream Haney. Devin the Dream Haney, as far as I can tell from this far in his career, is everything we want in a fighter. He's fought the best names that he can get his hands on. Jorge Linares, a little bit of an aged Gamboa, Javier Fortuna. He's fought now George Kambosos Jr. twice. The guy who beat the man to beat the man. The guy that beat Teofimo Lopez, who beat the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world at the time, Vasily Lomachenko. So I give Devin Haney full flowers, you guys. Devin Haney is the kind of fighter who, when people attach that generational talent to, which it's still a little bit early in his career, but if you're gauging on where he's at 23 years old, having fought where he's fought, being the undisputed lightweight champion of the world, it is a pretty fair, what's the word I'm looking for? Estimate to say that Devin Haney could possibly be a generational talent. I think he has to fight for at least a generation, give him a good 10 years worth of skin in the game, the 3-4 more years, and see how he develops before we start slapping titles of generational talent. But when it did come to the George Kambosos Jr. matchup, he took the B-side pay decrease because he was getting paid hand over fist over there at Matchroom. He took a lesser pay to fight in enemy territory out there in Australia in George's hometown audience, against possible bad judgment because, Devin Haney's not really a finisher. He's not a power guy. He's not trying to knock nobody out. But just doing that alone separated himself from the pack. Just a quick comparison. Floyd Mayweather Jr., the TBE 50-0, 16 world champions he beat. Floyd Mayweather Jr. never had a championship fight outside of Las Vegas. Floyd was never going to go to another country because Floyd liked to control, all the variables as much as he could. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to control the variables. If you're the A side, if you're the champion, you have every right to control as many of the variables as you want. Is there a weight clause, a rehydration clause, whatever, stipulations in the pay? What's going to be your cut of the pay-per-view? There's nothing wrong with that. But Devin Haney did end up going out to Australia. You got to give that man credit for that. We are in an odd generation of fighters. A lot of them have zeros. A lot of them are unproven. Devin the Dream Haney is undefeated, but he has proven himself time and time again. He's willing to take on those challenges. As far as I can tell, out of that 135-pound division, 130 pounds, including Shakur Stevenson, it looks like Shakur and Devin Haney might be the most talented out the bunch. We've got Tank Davis, 3-division champion. Technically only one. 2 of them are mid-belts. And then you got Ryan Garcia. So Ryan Garcia is still one of the younger heads out of that whole group. He has time to prove himself. Not a lot of time, but, you know, so there's still a lot of play going on there in the 135-pound division. Pauli Malignaggi, maybe there is a little bit of truth. Maybe Devin Haney will vacate his belts and move up to 140, and there's nothing wrong with that. If his body can't handle it, it can't. But anyways, that was the latest rumor mill going on with Pauli Malignaggi and Devin the Dream Haney. Water. Man, it was so cool for the last few weeks out here in San Diego. And it finally warmed up again today. Not super hot, but a lot hotter than I think it should be in October in San Diego. Anyways, one more thing I wanted to touch on was the numbers came back. Number one, Claressa Shields is the GOAT, 3-time undisputed, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, undefeated all across the board. She lost one time as an amateur in 2012, got that win back against Savannah Marshall, the quote-unquote boogie woman of the middleweight division, the knockout machine, and she pretty much schooled her. It looked like a thorough one-sided fight to me. I did have a 6-4, so it wasn't a total wash, but I had a 6-4 in favor of Claressa Shields. It doesn't really matter. The monumentality of that moment, the numbers came in from Sky Sports. 2 million fans tuned in. That's just the numbers across the pond. I would guess somewhere around at least 1 million or in the neck of 1 million, close to 1 million, if not more, on this side of the pond are watching that event. I'm not know for sure because they haven't released the numbers. It was on ESPN+. Now, 2 million fans tuned in. It was the most watched women's boxing event in Sky Sports history. It was the biggest audience for a live women's sport event, period, in Sky Television sports history. It was the first all-women's event to sell out the O2 Arena. You gotta give the credit to where it's due. This is the genesis, folks. If you don't know that, you're watching history as it unfolds. Now, no knock to Lucia Riker or Holly Holmes or Layla Ali or Christy Martin or any of the other legendary women in the past who were trailblazing pioneers in an era when they weren't even appreciated. But we're watching the genesis. Claressa Shields, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgardner, Michaela Mayer, all of them are the genesis. We've got Jessica McCaskill. There are so many amazing women fighters in the game right now, folks. You really want to pay attention. When you're looking back, when women's boxing explodes to an even bigger level and more women are involved in the sport and are arguing with us men in the comment section as it should be, you'll know that the genesis was 2022. It started off with Madison Square Garden, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, and now we just recently had that event with Claressa Shields, Savannah Marshall, Alicia Baumgardner, and Michaela Mayer, and the other women that were also on that card as well. You don't want to undermine their success too, but I'm going to talk about the women that are carrying the torch. The event was huge. Boxing community, I strongly suggest if you aren't up on women's boxing, at least get acquainted with the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the division and their names. The listing are on the Ring Rankings. It's there on ESPN. You'll find them all over online. Chantel Cameron, Jessica McCaskill, Sinisa Estrada. The names are there, folks. Momentous time to be a boxing fan right now. Don't let anybody tell you the best aren't fighting the best. No, we haven't got Spence versus Crawford. No, but we did get Anthony Joshua fighting Alexander Usyk. Yes, we did get to see Oscar Valdez fight Shakur Stevenson. Yes, we did get to see Brian Castano fight Jermell Charlo. We've been getting undefeated fights. We got to see Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. We've been getting the best fighting the best. Champions fighting champions. Undisputeds. All of it. All of it. So just because we didn't get the Spence Crawford fight, that does not mean boxing is not on an influx right now. It does not mean that we're not selling out arenas. It does not mean that stadiums are not being sold out. Tyson Fury packed a damn stadium, folks. He packed a stadium. Anthony Joshua, you know what I mean? You got Canelo last year, or was it 2022? He packed Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Craziness. Anyways, folks, that's going to be the ending of my video. Leave a comment or a suggestion in the inbox. Hit that like button. Hit follow if you haven't already done so. This is Hot Boxing Minute, y'all. the future voice of boxing analysis on YouTube and TikTok. Peace.